Everywhere you look, people are closed off, closed to opportunities, closed to experiences, closed to growth. They build invisible walls around themselves, walls made of fear, doubt, and routine. They cling to the familiar, thinking it keeps them safe. But in truth, it keeps them small. The moment you close yourself off, you stop living, you begin surviving, drifting, repeating the same patterns over and over again. Life becomes narrow, predictable, and suffocating. But here is the secret most people never discover. When you open up to life, when you embrace it without fear or resistance, you invite opportunities, connections, and experiences that you could never have imagined. Doors that were once locked suddenly swing wide open. Paths that seemed impossible begin to reveal themselves. This is not magic, it is alignment. It is the universal principle that life responds to your willingness to receive it. The more open you are, the more life gives you. People stay closed for one reason: fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being hurt. And so they shrink back, they reject invitations, avoid risks, hide their true selves. They become like a traveler who refuses to leave the inn, terrified of the storm outside, yet never realizing that the real adventure, the real treasure, lies beyond the door they refuse to open. Closed people live half lives. They wake up each day, hoping for change, but their actions betray them. They say they want love, but their hearts are guarded. They say they want success, but they never try. They say they want adventure, but they never step beyond their comfort zones. And so the doors of life remain locked, not because the world is cruel, but because they have lost the courage to knock. To open up to life does not mean throwing yourself recklessly into chaos. It means choosing trust over fear. It means saying yes to opportunities, even when uncertainty whispers in your ear. It means stepping out from the shadows of hesitation and into the light of possibility. Think of a flower. It does not bloom halfway. It opens fully, revealing its beauty to the world, trusting that the sun will shine, that the bees will come, that life will meet its openness with abundance. So too must you. To open up means allowing yourself to be seen, to be vulnerable, to experience joy and pain without hiding behind walls. It means engaging with the world rather than retreating from it. Consider this: the greatest moments of your life, the friendships you cherish, the opportunities you seized, the love you discovered, did not come from playing it safe. They came because at some point you opened yourself up. You said yes. You leaned into possibility instead of fear. And the opposite is also true. Think of the opportunities you missed, the words you left unsaid, the chances you let slip away. They did not escape you because life was unfair. They escaped because you closed yourself off. Life rewards the open heart, the curious mind, the willing soul. The more open you are, the more doors appear before you. The first step to opening up is awareness. You must first recognize where you have been closed. Ask yourself, where am I resisting life? What opportunities have I ignored because of fear? Which parts of myself have I hidden from the world? When you bring awareness to your walls, they begin to crumble. You start to see how often fear has disguised itself as caution, how often comfort has robbed you of growth, how often your silence has denied you connection. Awareness is the key that unlocks the first door, and once you open it, you will see that the walls you thought were protecting you were really holding you prisoner. Imagine living without walls. Imagine waking each day with openness, with the willingness to say yes, to try, to trust. How many more experiences would life offer you? How many new people would enter your circle? How many dreams would finally find the space to breathe? This is the promise of openness, that every door you feared to touch will begin to open, one by one, as you open yourself. Life does not reward the closed, it rewards the courageous. It rewards those who step into the unknown with trust, with faith, with the belief that even if they stumble, they will grow. So ask yourself, are you ready to open up? Are you ready to stop hiding behind the walls of fear and step into the vastness of life? Because here is the truth. When you open up to life, life opens up to you. Every door you thought was locked will reveal itself to have been waiting for you all along. This is the beginning. This is where the journey starts. Part 1 of 11. The first lesson. Openness is the master key. Use it, and watch as the world responds. Most people live their entire lives chasing certainty. They want guarantees. predictable outcomes, and step-by-step assurances that nothing will go wrong. They plan endlessly, calculate every risk, and hesitate to act until they feel completely secure. But here is the truth, that so few dare to accept certainty as an illusion. Life is not designed to be predictable. It is not meant to unfold in neat, tidy patterns. It is wild, dynamic, and forever changing. The moment you cling to certainty, you close yourself off to possibility. Think of all the times you waited until the right moment to start something. You waited until you felt ready. You waited until you had more experience, more confidence, more resources. But how many of those moments never arrived? How many opportunities slipped past while you were standing still, waiting for a green light that never came? This is the cost of demanding certainty. You trade growth for stagnation, potential for comfort, freedom for a false sense of control. Openness requires a different approach. It demands that you embrace uncertainty, not fear it. It means stepping into situations without knowing every outcome, trusting yourself to adapt, to learn, to grow as you go. Life does not reward the one who waits until conditions are perfect. It rewards the one who moves, who risks, who dares to begin even in the face of the unknown. Imagine standing before two doors. One door is marked safe. Behind it lies routine, predictability, and a future that looks exactly like your past. The other door is marked unknown. Behind it could be setbacks, challenges, or even failure, but it could also hold opportunities that change your life forever. Most people choose the first door, not because it leads anywhere extraordinary, but because it feels safe. Yet safety is an illusion. The job you think is secure can vanish. The relationship you cling to can end. The plans you've carefully built can crumble in a moment. The truth is, the so-called safe door locks you into mediocrity, while the unknown door is the only one that leads to growth. The greatest transformations in your life will never come from what is familiar. They will always come from what is uncertain. The friendships that reshape your worldview, the career shifts that unlock your potential, the experiences that expand your soul, they are born from moments when you dared to step into the unknown. Consider a traveler setting out on a journey. If they demand to know every road, every turn, every obstacle before taking the first step, they will never leave home. But the one who trusts the path, who accepts that the road will twist and surprise them, eventually reaches places the cautious traveler will never see. Your life is no different. The resistance you feel toward uncertainty is not weakness, it is conditioning. Society trains you to fear the unknown. From a young age you're taught to seek stability, to follow predictable paths, to avoid risks. Security is praised, conformity rewarded, predictability celebrated. But if you look closely at the people you admire most, the leaders, creators, innovators, explorers, you'll notice a pattern. They all walked willingly into uncertainty. They chose the path that had no map, and because of this they discovered doors others never knew exist. Opening yourself to life means shifting your relationship with uncertainty. Instead of seeing it as danger, see it as possibility. Instead of resisting it, lean into it. Every time you step into the unknown, you expand your capacity for courage, for creativity, for growth. You stop needing everything to be clear before you move forward. You begin to trust that clarity will come after you take the step, not before. Think about the last time you faced a decision and hesitated because you couldn't see the entire path. Did clarity eventually come once you act? Did the next step reveal itself after you committed to the first? This is how life works. It does not hand you a complete map. It gives you one piece at a time, rewarding your faith with guidance. Each step opens the next door, but only if you are willing to walk forward without guarantee. Failure, too, is part of uncertainty, and it is where most people retreat. They assume that if they fail, the unknown has betrayed them. But failure is not betrayal. It is instruction. It is data. It is life teaching you the skills, the resilience, the insight you need to continue. Every failure you face within the unknown is preparing you for greater success later. If you never risk uncertainty, you never gather the lessons that allow you to grow. Openness to life is openness to uncertainty. You cannot have one without the other. To open your heart, your mind, your path, you must be willing to walk into the fog, trusting that what lies ahead will shape you into someone stronger. This trust is not naive. It is powerful. It is the force that has built every meaningful achievement in human history. Ask yourself, how many doors have you left unopened because you demanded certainty? How many times have you silenced your intuition because it led you towards something unpredictable? How often have you stayed in places jobs or relationships, not because they fulfilled you, but because they felt familiar. What would your life look like if you chose differently, if you chose openness over fear, trust over control, uncertainty over stagnation? This is the second lesson. To open up to life, you must open up to the unknown. Stop waiting for everything to make sense before you act. Stop waiting for perfect timing, perfect conditions, perfect confidence. They will never arrive. Begin now. Step forward now. Trust that each move you make creates a ripple, unlocking doors you cannot yet see, because when you embrace uncertainty, you unleash possibility, and life meets you with opportunities you never imagined. Most people carry around invisible locks on their hearts and minds. They want life to bring them love, opportunities, and breakthroughs, but they approach it with hesitation, suspicion, and guardedness. They wonder why nothing changes, why the doors remain closed, yet they never stop to see how tightly they are holding themselves shut. Openness is not just about taking chances, it is about allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to connect, to feel deeply. Without vulnerability, you cannot truly open to life, because life is not experienced in half measures. It is felt fully or not at all. Think about the relationships that have meant the most to you. They were not built on perfect appearances or flawless control. They were built on honesty, on sharing your real self with another person, even at the risk of being misunderstood or hurt. Vulnerability is what creates intimacy. It is the bridge between one soul and another. Without it, connections remain shallow, surface level, and easily broken. With it, doors to trust, love, and belonging swing wide open. The fear of vulnerability runs deep. Most people equate it with weakness, believing that to show their true emotions, to reveal their struggles, to admit their uncertainties, is to hand others power over them. They armor themselves with silence, with masks, with rehearsed versions of who they think the world wants them to be. But in doing so, they deny themselves the richness of life. They may appear safe, but they are suffocating. The truth is, real strength is found in openness. Real strength is the courage to stand unshielded and say, "This is me. I may be flawed, I may be imperfect, but I am real." Imagine two people in conflict. One hides behind pride, refusing to admit fault, closing themselves off from resolution. The other speaks honestly, admits their mistake, expresses how they feel, even though it is uncomfortable. Which one unlocks the door to reconciliation? Which one has the power to transform the relationship? Vulnerability is not about being powerless. It is about being willing to engage with life authentically, and authenticity is magnetic. It draws in opportunities, people, and experiences aligned with your true self. Life responds to honesty. When you hide who you are, you may think you are protecting yourself, but you are actually blocking the very things you desire. The love you want cannot find you if you hide your heart. The opportunities you seek cannot connect with you if you never reveal your passion. The friendships you crave cannot deepen if you always wear a mask. Every time you shield yourself, you reinforce the very walls that keep you trapped. But when you open up, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you signal to life that you are ready to receive. Consider the story of an artist who hides their work because they fear criticism. They dream of recognition, of impact, of inspiring others, but they keep their paintings locked in a room. No one ever sees them, no one ever feels their message, no doors open for them. Contrast this with the artist who shares their creations, even if imperfect. Some may criticize, some may ignore, but others will connect, support, and elevate them. The act of openness creates momentum. The willingness to be vulnerable unlocks the very doors that fear keeps sealed. The same principle applies to growth. To learn, you must be willing to fail. To succeed, you must be willing to risk rejection. To evolve, you must be willing to shed old identities and step into new ones that feel uncertain. Vulnerability is not just about relationships with others. It is about your relationship with yourself. Are you willing to admit when you are wrong? Are you willing to face your fears instead of burying them? Are you willing to confront the truth about what you really want from life? Each act of vulnerability opens another door. Each time you choose honesty over pretense, you step further into freedom. The strongest individuals are not the ones who never cry, never falter, never stumble. They are the ones who allow themselves to feel everything but are not destroyed by it. They know that to be human is to be open, to risk, to love, to lose and to rise again. Their strength lies in their openness, and because of this, they connect more deeply, create more boldly, and live more fully than those who hide behind walls. Ask yourself, how often do you withhold your truth out of fear of judgment? How many times have you wanted to speak, to share, to express, but instead stayed silent? How many chances for connection slipped away because you were too guarded? Each of those moments was a closed door, and each of those doors could have opened if you had chosen vulnerability. Opening up to life means opening your heart to the possibility of pain, but also to the possibility of joy so profound that it reshapes your existence. Pain and joy are two sides of the same door. You cannot access one without risking the other, but the reward is always worth it, because the fullness of life cannot be tasted from behind walls. So here is the challenge. Stop hiding, stop pretending, stop armoring yourself against the world. Let yourself be seen, flaws and all. Say what you feel, pursue what you love, share what you create. Be vulnerable enough to risk rejection, because only then will you experience connection. Be vulnerable enough to risk failure, because only then will you discover success. Be vulnerable enough to live openly, because only then will the doors of life swing wide for you. This is the third lesson. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the ultimate form of courage. It is the master key that unlocks connection, growth and the more you practice it, the more life will respond by opening doors that would have remained forever closed had you chosen to stay hidden. Most people go through life chasing approval without even realizing it. They shape their choices around what will please others. They filter their words so they won't offend, and they measure their worth through the eyes of family, friends, co-workers, or even strangers online. This hunger for validation is subtle but dangerous, because it places your happiness and self-worth in someone else's hands. And the moment you give someone else the power to define you, you lose control over your own life. Openness to life means freeing yourself from the prison of approval seeking. You cannot step into your full potential while you are weighed down by the constant need for others to agree with or applaud you. The truth is simple. No matter what you do, someone will criticize you. No matter how carefully you try to please, someone will disapprove. If you let that stop you, you will never move forward. If you let their voices drown out your own, you will never discover who you really are. Consider the people who changed the world. They were rarely the most liked, the most agreeable, or the ones who blended in. They were often rejected, criticized, even ridiculed, yet they continued anyway. They understood that the need for approval was a trap. They knew that greatness is not born from conformity but from courage. The courage to walk your own path regardless of who understands or supports you. When you live for approval, you live small. You say yes when you want to say no. You suppress your dreams because they don't fit the mold. You edit yourself to fit into boxes that were never built for you. And every time you do, you close another door, not because the world is against you, but because you are against yourself. Think of someone you admire. Chances are, they do not beg for approval. They do not chase validation. Instead, they radiate an energy that says, I know who I am, and I don't need your permission to exist. That kind of confidence is magnetic. People are drawn to it, not because it seeks attention, but because it does. The paradox of approval is that when you stop chasing it, people respect you more. But how do you release the need for approval? You begin by turning inward. Instead of asking, what will they think of me? You ask, what do I think of myself? Instead of waiting for someone else to validate your worth, you practice validating yourself. You acknowledge your own progress, celebrate your own victories, and respect your own decisions. You stop outsourcing your identity. You stop needing others to clap before you believe you are enough. There will always be people who misunderstand you, who criticize you, who doubt you, but their opinions are not the truth. They are reflections of their own fears, their own limitations, their own biases. When you realize this, their power over you you stop taking their words as law and start seeing them as noise. Some criticism may hold wisdom, but most of it does not. The key is to filter, to take what helps and discard the rest. Imagine walking into a room full of doors. Each door represents a possibility, an opportunity, a new chapter. But before you can open any of them, you pause, turning back to ask the crowd behind you, is it okay if I go through this one? Some say yes, some say no, others laugh, others shrug. Confused and insecure, you end up frozen, unable to move through any door at all. This is what happens when you live for approval. But if you walk in and trust your own instincts, you begin opening doors without asking for permission, and that is when life starts to open itself to you. Approval seeking is rooted in fear, the fear of rejection, of being judged, of being alone. But here is the truth. Rejection will happen anyway. Judgment is inevitable. Not everyone will like you, and not everyone is meant to. When you accept this, you free yourself. You stop wasting energy on what you cannot control. You stop bending to please people who were never going to walk your path with you anyway. This does not mean arrogance or selfishness. It does not mean shutting out feedback or refusing to listen. It means knowing the difference between wisdom and noise, between constructive guidance and empty criticism. It means respecting others without depending on their approval. It means living in alignment with your own values, not bending them to fit into someone else's expectation. Ask yourself, how much of your life has been shaped by the opinions of others? How many choices have you avoided because you feared judgment? How many times have you silenced your truth because you didn't want to upset someone? And what has it cost you? Every time you do this, you trade authenticity for acceptance, but it is a trade that always leaves you empty. Life rewards authenticity. The doors that truly belong to you will only open when you walk in your own truth. If you keep chasing approval, you will forever knock on doors that were never meant for you. But the moment you release the need for validation, you start moving toward the ones that align with your soul. This is the fourth lesson. Stop seeking approval. Stop waiting for permission. Stop silencing yourself for the comfort of others. The doors of life will not open to those who beg for validation. They will open to those who trust themselves enough to walk forward without it. When you choose authenticity over approval, you step into your real power. And when you live in that power, no door can stay closed to you. Criticism is something that no one can escape. The moment you try to do anything meaningful, voices will rise around you. Some will question your choices, others will mock your efforts, and many will project their own fears onto your path. Most people crumble under this pressure. They take every comment to heart, replaying it in their minds until it weakens their resolve. They allow criticism to shape their identity, dictate their actions, and steal their courage. But the truth is this: criticism only has as much power as you give it. Life will always test you with the opinions of others. The difference between those who succeed and those who give up is not in whether they face criticism, but in how they respond to it. The weak react emotionally. They get defensive, they argue, they doubt themselves. The strong remain calm, filter what they hear, and decide whether it is useful. They treat criticism not as a threat, but as information, and in doing so, they keep their power. Imagine a sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone. As he works, people pass by. Some admire his progress, some offer advice, and others laugh, saying the stone will never become anything beautiful. If he listens to every voice, if he allows himself to be shaken by every comment, he will never finish the sculpture. But if he stays focused, filtering out the noise, continuing to carve with patience and vision, in time the masterpiece will emerge. This is how you must handle criticism. It is inevitable, but it is not defining. There are two kinds of criticism. The first is constructive. It comes from people who have knowledge, who care, who want to see you grow. This kind of feedback is valuable, and you should welcome it. The second is destructive. It comes from envy, ignorance, or insecurity. It is not meant to help, but to tear down. This kind of criticism is meaningless, unless you choose to internalize it. The mistake most people make is treating both types as equal. They absorb every word, letting the useful and the harmful weigh on them the same. The strong know better. They extract wisdom from what is constructive and discard the rest without a second thought. Think about how much energy is wasted on destructive criticism. People replay insults in their heads for days, weeks, even years. They let a stranger's careless words dictate how they feel about themselves. They allow a single negative opinion to overshadow 100 positive ones. This is the tragedy of giving your power away. The truth is, most critics have never done what you are trying to do. They speak from the sidelines, not from experience. Their voices are not authority, they are noise. The world's greatest thinkers, leaders, and creators all faced relentless criticism. Their ideas were ridiculed, their choices doubted, their visions dismissed. If they had allowed those voices to control them, nothing remarkable would have ever been built. The criticism did not stop coming, they simply stopped letting it control their inner world. They understood that criticism is often the price of progress. If no one is questioning you, it probably means you are not doing anything bold enough to matter. Handling criticism with strength is about detachment. When someone criticizes you, you pause. You do not react impulsively. You ask yourself, does this hold truth? Is there something useful here? If yes, you learn from it. If not, you let it go. No overthinking, no emotional spirals, no surrendering of peace. You move forward. The more you practice this, the lighter you feel. The world may throw its opinions at you, but they slide off because you no longer carry them. Consider what happens when you respond to criticism with silence instead of defensiveness. The critic expects a reaction, expects you to be shaken, but when you remain calm, when you refuse to be disturbed, the power shifts. Their words lose weight. They are left unsettled, while you continue stronger than before. This is how criticism becomes fuel instead of poison. Ask yourself, how many of your dreams have you abandoned because of criticism? How many times did you hesitate to act because you feared what others might say? How much of your life has been limited, not by your abilities, but by your sensitivity to opinions? These are the closed doors that criticism creates when you allow it to control you. But once you decide that your opinion of yourself matters more than anyone else's, those doors begin to open. You cannot control the voices of others, but you can always control your response. You can choose to be fragile, breaking under every comment, or you can choose to be unshakable, filtering criticism with clarity and continuing forward. This choice determines whether you live trapped by fear of judgment or free to pursue your path. The next time criticism comes, and it will, see it for what it is: words, just words. Take what helps you, ignore what doesn't, and never let it define you. The doors of life do not open for those who crumble under the opinions of others. They open for those who remain focused, steady, and undisturbed. The moment you stop fearing criticism is the moment you begin to live fully. This is the fifth lesson. Handle criticism, not with emotion, but with strength. Keep moving, and the doors ahead will not only open, they will stay open, because nothing and no one can shake you from your path. Pressure is the great revealer. It shows you who you really are when comfort is stripped away, when the plan falls apart, when the world feels like it is closing in on you. Some people break under it. They panic, they lash out, they freeze. Others remain steady, calm, and in control. What makes the difference is not luck or natural talent. It is preparation. The people who thrive under pressure are the ones who have trained their minds to expect challenge instead of fearing it. Most people treat pressure as a curse, something to avoid at all costs. They hope life will be smooth, predictable, free of stress, but this is an illusion. Pressure is not the exception, it is the rule. It will come in many forms: deadlines, conflicts, setbacks, disappointment. The question is never whether you will face pressure, but how you will respond when it arrives. If you resist it, if you demand that life be easy, you will always be thrown off balance. But if you embrace it, if you accept pressure as part of the journey, you will discover that it sharpens you. Think of a warrior stepping into battle. He does not expect an easy fight. He does not hope his opponent will be weak or unprepared. He enters knowing that resistance will come, that challenges will test him, that chaos is inevitable, and because he expects it, he does not waste energy panicking. He is ready. He focuses on execution. This is the mindset you must adopt. Pressure is not something to fear, it is something to prepare for, something to use. When you crumble under pressure, it is usually because you are clinging to control. You wanted everything to go exactly as you imagined, and when it doesn't, you lose your composure. But control over external events is an illusion. You cannot dictate what others will do, how the world will move, or how perfectly your plans will unfold. The only control you will ever truly have is over yourself, your thoughts, your actions, your reactions. When you understand this, pressure loses its power to break you. Imagine a storm. Most people caught in it flail against the winds, burning themselves out in resistance. But the ones who remain calm, who bend without breaking, who move with the storm instead of against it, are the ones who survive and emerge stronger. Pressure works the same way. When you stop demanding that it disappear, you start adapt. You shift from panic to strategy, from reaction to response. Composure is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained. You do not wait until you are under immense stress to practice it. You practice in the small moments, the unexpected traffic jam, the rude comment, the missed opportunity. Instead of reacting impulsively, you pause, you breathe, you ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Is my reaction going to solve the problem, or make it worse? Each time you choose calmness over chaos, you are training your mind, and by the time real pressure comes, you are ready. Preparation is another element of composure. Those who fall apart under pressure are often those who never prepared themselves for difficulty. They hoped things would go smoothly, and when they didn't, they had no strategy. But those who train for adversity, who rehearse worst-case scenarios, who condition their minds to stay steady under stress, are unshakable. They are not surprised when things go wrong. They are ready. Their discipline has already built the resilience they need. Ask yourself, how do you respond when life presses on you? Do you react with panic, anger, or despair, or do you step back, steady yourself and respond with clarity? Every moment of pressure is a test, but it is also an opportunity, a chance to demonstrate control, to build trust in yourself, to refine your ability to remain calm in the storm. Think of the leaders you respect the most. They are not remembered because they thrived in times of ease. They are remembered because they stood tall in chaos, because they exuded calm when others collapsed. Their composure was their power. While others lost their focus, they became sharper. While others surrendered to fear, they leaned into clarity. And because of this, people followed them, people trusted them, people respected them. You have the same ability. It begins with a decision. I will not crumble under pressure. I will not waste energy wishing things were easier. I will prepare. I will adapt. And I will remain calm no matter what comes. Each time you affirm this, each time you practice it in small challenges, you build an inner strength that cannot be shaken. Life will always test you. The unexpected will always arrive. Pressure will never disappear. But if you train yourself to stay composed, it becomes your advantage. While others lose their footing, you will remain steady. While others react recklessly, you will respond with intention. And when the storm passes, you will still be standing, stronger than before. This is the sixth lesson. Composure under pressure is not about being emotionless. It is about mastery. It is about refusing to let external chaos dictate your inner state. When you remain calm, you see clearly. When you see clearly, you act wise. And when you act wisely, doors that seemed locked in panic suddenly open with ease. The world belongs to those who stay steady when everyone else falls apart.
Suffering often comes not from what happens to you, but from how tightly you cling to what you think should have happened. People grip outcomes, expectations, and desires so tightly that when reality does not align, they feel pain far greater than the situation itself. The truth is, much of human frustration is not caused by events but by resistance to them. When you refuse to let go of what you cannot control, you chain yourself to disappointment. But when you learn the art of release, you free yourself to move forward with strength. Imagine holding water in your fist. The tighter you squeeze, the less you can keep. Eventually it slips away no matter how desperately you try to hold it. Life works the same way. The more you demand that everything stay exactly as you want, the more suffering you create for yourself. But when you open your hand, when you allow water to flow freely, you are no longer fighting reality. You are moving with it. Letting go does not mean giving up. It does not mean apathy or weakness. It means choosing to focus on what you can influence while releasing what you cannot. It means accepting that life will not always match your expectations, and that peace is found not in control, but in adaptability. The strongest individuals are not those who force the world into their design, but those who remain steady when the world shifts around them. Think of the times you held on too tightly. Perhaps it was a relationship that had already ended, but you replayed every moment wishing it had turned out differently, or a lost opportunity, a job you didn't get, a door that closed. How much energy did you waste resisting what was already gone? That energy could have been used to move forward, to grow, to open new doors. Instead, it trapped you in the past. The pain was not in the loss itself, but in your refusal to release it. When you let go, you create space for new opportunities, new people, new experiences. The problem is not that life withholds from you, it is that you are too full of what no longer serves you. You cannot open new doors if you are still clinging to ones that have already closed. Letting go clears the path, allowing what is meant for you to enter. Acceptance is the first step. When something doesn't go as planned, acknowledge it. Do not deny it. Do not fight against it. Accept that it has happened. Then ask yourself, is this within my control? If the answer is yes, act. If the answer is no, release it. This practice may feel unnatural at first because your mind will want to replay the story, to find meaning in the what-ifs. But the truth is, no amount of replaying will change what has already passed. Your power lies in how you choose to move forward. Picture a river flowing around rocks. The water does not demand that the rocks move. It does not resist them. It simply flows, adapting to the shape of the landscape. It may take a longer path, but it always finds its way forward. You must become like the river. Obstacles will appear, people will disappoint you, plans will fall apart. But if you flow, if you adapt, you will keep moving, and in the end you will find that nothing has truly stopped you. Detachment is another form of strength. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop being controlled by what you cannot change. It is the discipline of engaging fully with life while refusing to be ruled by outcomes. You give your best, you act with intention, but you accept that the result may not always match your vision. And when it doesn't, you adapt without losing yourself. This kind of detachment is freedom. Consider the people you admire for their resilience. They are not the ones who never face setbacks. They are the ones who face them, release them, and continue forward. They do not allow disappointment to linger in their minds for months or years. They feel the sting, they learn the lesson, and they let it go. This ability is what makes them unstoppable. Ask yourself, what are you holding on to that is keeping you stuck? Is it a mistake, a failure, a rejection, an expectation that life should have turned out differently? What would happen if you released it? What space would open in your life? How much energy would you free to focus on what actually matters? Strength is not found in clinging, it is found in releasing. The moment you decide to let go of what you cannot control, you step into a peace that others will not understand. While they are consumed by frustration, you remain steady. While they replay the past, you focus on the future. While they resist reality, you adapt to it. And because of this, you move forward faster, stronger, freer. This is the seventh lesson. To open up to life, you must learn the art of letting go. Release the need for everything to unfold as you imagined. Release the grip on outcomes you cannot change. Release the weight of past disappointments. When you do, you create space for new doors to open. You begin to live with a calmness that no setback can disturb. You walk through life like the river flowing, adapting, unstoppable. And in that flow, every door that truly belongs to you will reveal itself, not through force but through alignment. In a world obsessed with noise, silence has become a forgotten power. People rush to fill every gap in conversation, to explain themselves, to prove a point, to demand attention. They believe that the louder they are, the more control they hold. But real power does not come from constant talking. Real power comes from restraint, from presence, from silence that unsettles and commands respect without effort. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a weapon. Most people are uncomfortable with it. Put them in a room where no one speaks for a moment, and watch how quickly they scramble to fill the air. They chatter, they justify, they overshare, because the emptiness of silence exposes their insecurity. But the one who sits calmly, unshaken, who does not need to rush to speak, creates a tension that others cannot handle. That tension is influence. That stillness is control. Words reveal, but silence conceals. When you speak constantly, you hand others a map of your mind, your emotions, your fears, your intentions. But when you practice silence, you give them nothing to grasp. You remain a mystery. People lean in, curious, unsettled, trying to decipher what you are thinking, and in their attempts they expose themselves while you reveal nothing. Silence shifts the balance of power. Think of a negotiation. One person makes an offer, expecting a quick response. The other remains silent, calm, unreactive. Seconds stretch into what feels like an eternity. The first person begins to doubt themselves. They fill the space with better terms, with compromises, with concessions. The silence wins, not by aggression, not by force but by restraint. This same principle applies in everyday life. Imagine someone insults you, expecting anger, expecting you to defend yourself. If you argue back, they gain satisfaction. If you explain, they gain control. But if you stay silent, they lose their grip. They are left with their own words echoing back at them, and suddenly they feel foolish. Your silence robs them of power. It demonstrates composure so strong that no insult can shake it. Silence also sharpens awareness. When you stop speaking, you start noticing. You see the nervous shift in someone's posture, the hesitation in their voice, the contradiction between their words and their expression. Most people miss these signals because they are too busy talking, but silence turns you into an observer, a strategist. You gather information while giving away nothing. The most influential figures in history were not the loudest in the room. They were the ones who spoke less, but carried weight when they did. They understood that restraint amplifies impact. When they finally broke their silence, people listened, not because they demanded attention, but because their words were rare and deliberate. Silence gave their voices power. Practicing silence does not mean never speaking. It means speaking with intention. It means pausing before responding, resisting the impulse to fill every gap. It means allowing others to reveal themselves first. It means recognizing that silence itself can be a response. A pause can convey confidence. Stillness can shift an entire interaction. The next time you are in a heated situation, try holding back. Instead of reacting with words, let silence speak for you. Instead of explaining yourself endlessly, let your presence do the talking. Notice how the energy changes, how people lean into the quiet, how the control shifts toward you. Silence unsettles those who depend on reaction, and in that discomfort, you gain leverage. Silence also builds discipline. Most people speak out of emotion, anger, insecurity, the need to be validated. By practicing silence, you train yourself to detach from those impulses. You show yourself that you do not need to defend every opinion. You do not need to prove yourself in every conversation. You do not need to announce every plan. Your calmness becomes your strength. Ask yourself, how often do you talk just to be heard? How often do you explain yourself to people who will never understand? How often do you react with words when silence would have been more powerful? Each unnecessary word is energy wasted, power surrendered. But when you master silence, you conserve that energy. You redirect it into action, into strategy, into presence. Silence is not passive, it is deliberate. It is the pause before the move, the calm before the strike, the stillness that confuses and unsettles. It makes people reveal themselves. It makes them question themselves. It makes them respect you without you ever demanding it. This is the 8th lesson. In a world where everyone is desperate to be noticed, become the one who doesn't need to prove anything. While others shout to be heard, stay silent and observe. When you finally choose to speak, your words will carry weight, because they come from intention, not desperation. Silence opens doors that noise will always keep closed. Learn to wield it, and you will find that influence does not require volume, it requires presence.
Your mind is your true battlefield. Every doubt, every fear, every hesitation begins within you long before it appears in your actions. Most people lose this battle not because the world is too harsh, but because they have allowed their thoughts to control them instead of the other way around. They react impulsively, surrender to negativity, and let emotions dictate their choices. But those who learn to master their mind become unstoppable. They carry a calmness so deep that no external chaos can shake it. Strength of mind does not come in a single moment of triumph. It is built like a muscle through repeated resistance, through daily practice. Just as the body grows stronger by lifting weights, the mind grows tougher by facing challenge and refusing to collapse. Every time you pause before reacting, every time you choose discipline over impulse, every time you quiet your fears instead of feeding them, you train your mind to stand firm. Most people believe calmness is natural, that you either have it or you don't. But composure is not a gift. It is a skill. It is the result of training. The reason so many are easily rattled is because they have never practiced control. They have allowed their emotions to run freely, thinking that reacting to everything makes them alive, when in reality it makes them slaves. Freedom comes when you reverse this dynamic, when your emotions serve you instead of rule you. Think about how often you are pulled by fleeting feelings. You wake up tired and skip what you promised yourself you'd do. Someone offends you and you lash out without thought. Fear whispers in your ear, and you abandon the opportunity. Each of these moments seems small, but together they shape your life. They lock doors before you ever try to open them. If you cannot govern your thoughts, you cannot direct your destiny. The ones who master their minds do not avoid negative thoughts.
They refuse to be controlled by them. Doubt appears, but they do not feed it. Fear arises, but they do not bow to it. Anger flares, but they pause, choosing response over reaction. This does not mean they are emotionless. It means they recognize emotions as temporary sensations, not permanent truths. They observe without surrendering, and in that space of observation lies freedom. Imagine standing in the center of a storm. Winds whip around you, lightning cracks, the ground shakes. Most people get swept away, tossed wherever the storm decides. But the one with a trained mind stands rooted, letting the chaos move around them without being pulled into it. They conserve their energy, waiting for the storm to pass, and when it does, they are still standing. This is the strength you build when you train your mind daily. Training begins in the small moments. When frustration rises in traffic, you breathe instead of honk. When fear whispers before a new opportunity, you lean in instead of retreat. When laziness tempts you to quit early, you push through instead. These choices may seem insignificant, but they are the daily weights that build mental strength. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes, until composure is your default state. Discipline is the foundation. The mind always seeks comfort, the easy path, the excuse to quit, but discipline overrides that pull. Each time you keep your word to yourself, waking up early when you'd rather sleep, following through on commitments even when no one is watching, you reinforce control. You teach your mind that your higher self, not your impulses, is in charge. Over time, this discipline becomes unshakable confidence. You begin to trust yourself, and when you trust yourself, the opinions and chaos of the world lose their power over you. Ask yourself, how often do you let your emotions dictate your reality? How often do you give away your peace because of a single thought you chose to believe? What would change if you trained yourself to pause, to question, to redirect? How many doors would open if fear no longer controlled you, if doubt no longer paralyzed you, if anger no longer derailed you? This is not theory, it is practice. Each day presents opportunities to train your mind. Each frustration, each temptation, each fear is a test. If you approach them with awareness, you strengthen yourself. If you surrender without resistance, you weaken yourself. The choice belongs to you. Those who master their minds radiate a calmness that others cannot understand. While everyone else scrambles, they remain centered. While others are enslaved by fear, they move with clarity. And because of this, they stand out. People trust them, respect them, follow them, not because they demand it, but because their composure commands it. This is the 9th lesson. If you want the doors of life to open, you must first master the door of your own mind. Until you control what happens inside, you will always be at the mercy of what happens outside. But once you train your mind to stay calm no matter what, nothing external can hold you back. You will move through life with an unshakable presence, and every obstacle will transform into an opportunity. The storm will rage, but you will stand unmoved, and in that stillness, every door will begin to open before you. Real power does not announce itself. It does not need to broadcast plans, explain intentions, or seek validation. True strength moves quietly, without noise, without the desperate need to be seen. Most people believe success is about being noticed, about showing the world what they are doing, about proving themselves through constant words and declarations. But the truth is, the loudest people are rarely the strongest. The strongest move in silence. They build, they create, they execute. And by the time the world notices, it is already too late to stop them. Noise is a trap. When you talk too much about what you intend to do, you invite doubt, resistance, and unnecessary interference. You waste energy proving yourself instead of investing it into action. You open the door for critics, for distractions, for voices that will try to discourage you. Worse, you trick your own mind. Studies of human behavior show that when you announce your goals, you feel a false sense of accomplishment, as if saying it aloud is enough. But words are not results. Talking robs you of the hunger that action requires. The ones who move in silence understand this. They resist the urge to explain themselves. They resist the temptation to show off their progress before it is finished. They do not need applause to continue.
because their focus is not on being admired, it is on becoming excellent. They let the work speak, and when the results arrive, they speak louder than any words ever could. Imagine two individuals setting out to achieve something. One tells everyone about their plans, posting updates, explaining every detail, defending their choices. The other says nothing. They wake up early, they work late, they discipline themselves without fanfare. Months later, the first has excuses, the second has results. Silence was their shield, discipline was their voice, and results were their proof. This principle applies to every area of life. In relationships, silence shows restraint. Instead of over-explaining or begging for validation, you stand firm in who you are. In business, silence creates anticipation. You don't need to reveal every strategy. You let outcomes demonstrate your vision. In personal growth, silence keeps you focused. Instead of bragging about your habits, you live them consistently until they transform you. Moving in silence is not passivity, it is strategy. It is the art of withholding just enough that people cannot predict your next move. It creates mystery, and mystery creates power. When others cannot read you, they cannot manipulate you. When they do not know your plans, they cannot sabotage them. The less they know, the more control you hold. Think about chess. The strongest players do not announce their strategies. They do not explain what they will do next. They calculate quietly, they move deliberately, and they allow their opponent to reveal themselves first. In life, the same principle applies. Silence keeps you 3 steps ahead, while noise traps you in the same position as everyone else. The urge to announce is rooted in insecurity. People who are uncertain of themselves seek validation. They need others to confirm that they are on the right path. But those who trust themselves, who are grounded in their vision, do not need to explain. They move because they know, they act because their conviction is enough, and this quiet certainty is magnetic. People respect it because it cannot be faked. Ask yourself, how often do you announce your goals before achieving them? How much energy have you wasted proving yourself to those who never matter? How many times have you let outside voices interfere with what you should have kept private? Each of these moments weakened you, not because you lacked ability, but because you gave away power through noise. The path of silence requires discipline. You must resist the craving for recognition. You must learn to be satisfied with your own validation. You must train yourself to take joy in the work itself, not in the attention it brings. When you do, you create an inner strength that cannot be shaken. Your worth no longer depends on applause, and your progress no longer depends on approval. You become unstoppable, because nothing external dictates your momentum. The world is full of people who talk about what they will do. Few actually do it. Be among the few. Let your results be your voice, your consistency be your explanation, your presence be your statement. While others waste energy broadcasting, conserve yours for building. While they seek recognition, seek mastery. While they move with noise, move with precision. This is the 10th lesson. Stop announcing, stop explaining, stop proving, move quietly, strategically, and with focus. Success does not require an audience, it requires execution, and when you execute consistently, the world will eventually notice, not because you told them to, but because the evidence is undeniable. Real power moves in silence. The doors of life open not to those who shout about what they will do, but to those who quietly create results too strong to ignore. The journey of opening up to life reaches its peak when you realize that everything you have learned is not about gaining control over the world, but about mastering yourself. Each lesson, openness, embracing uncertainty, vulnerability, freedom from approval, strength against criticism, composure under pressure, letting go, silence, mental discipline, moving without noise, has been pointing to the same truth. Life responds to the state of your inner world. When you open up, the doors you thought were locked were never locked at all. They were waiting for you to align with them, waiting for you to become the kind of person who could walk through them with clarity and strength. The mistake most people make is believing that life is something happening to them. They think opportunity is random, that luck chooses favorites, that the doors are opened or closed by forces outside their control. But the reality is different. Life mirrors you. If you are closed, life feels closed. If you are fearful, life gives you more to fear. If you are guarded, life keeps its treasures guarded. But if you are open, trusting, steady, disciplined, life opens in response. What you are inside determines what you see outside. Consider how many doors have already opened for you when you chose to live differently. The times you said yes instead of no. The times you trusted yourself despite the uncertainty. The times you were vulnerable and it led to deeper connection. The times you ignored the noise of critics and kept moving. Each of these choices expanded your world. Each of them revealed doors that would have remained hidden if you had chosen fear. The pattern is undeniable. Openness creates expansion, and expansion reveals paths that were always there waiting for you. Life is not waiting for the perfect person. It is waiting for the open person, the one willing to step forward without guarantees, the one willing to fail and try again, the one willing to walk with humility, but also with confidence, the one who is not trapped by the need for validation or the fear of criticism, the one who can stand steady under pressure and let go when things do not unfold as expected. That person discovers doors where others see walls. That person finds opportunities in places where others find only dead ends. The final shift you must make is to see openness not as something you practice occasionally, but as a way of being. It is not just a tool for certain situations. It is the posture of your life. To wake up each morning with the mindset, today, I will be open. Open to people, open to lessons, open to challenges, open to uncertainty, open to whatever life chooses to bring. With that posture, every day becomes rich with possibility. Even difficulties become valuable because you see them as doors disguised as obstacles. Think of someone who embodies this way of living. They walk into a room and opportunities seem to find them. They connect easily with others. They adapt to setbacks. They radiate a calm strength that makes people trust them. It is not luck, it is openness. They are not weighed down by fear or doubt. And because they are open, life opens to them. This is available to you the moment you choose it. Ask yourself, what doors are you still keeping shut because of fear? Where in your life are you clinging too tightly, demanding certainty, hiding behind walls? What would happen if you released? What if you stepped forward with openness in every area, refusing to let fear dictate your choices? The answer is simple. You would expand. You would discover possibilities you cannot yet imagine. You would live with a freedom that others admire but cannot understand. This is the final lesson. Opening up to life is not a single act, but a lifelong choice. It is the decision to live without walls, to embrace what comes, to trust that even the setbacks are stepping stones. It is the recognition that your inner openness is the key to outer doors. When you choose openness, you align with the flow of life instead of resisting it, and in that flow every door that matters will open. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for certainty. Do not wait for the perfect moment. The moment is now. Life is already waiting for you, but it cannot meet you halfway if you are closed. Say yes more often. Trust yourself more deeply. Release what no longer serves you. Walk with calmness, with discipline, with silence where silence is power, and with courage where courage is required. When you live this way, the world transforms. What once felt like a series of locked doors becomes a corridor of endless possibilities. What once felt like resistance becomes alignment. What once felt like struggle becomes growth. The doors of life are not sealed. They are waiting for you to approach them with openness, with courage, with presence. So step forward. Open yourself fully to life. Do not fear the unknown. Do not hide behind walls. Do not waste energy seeking approval or fighting battles that do not matter. Focus on what you can control, release what you cannot, and trust that life will rise to meet you. The doors are already there, the keys are already in your hand, and the moment you choose to live openly, you will discover that every door you once feared was locked, was simply waiting for you to turn the handle and walk through. This is the conclusion. The path of openness is the path of freedom, the path of growth, the path of true power. Open up to life, and life will open up to you. One by one, the doors will reveal themselves, and you will realize they were never closed at all. They were waiting for you to step forward and claim them.
You know the feeling. You share your dream, your vision, your goal, and instead of support, you're met with silence, doubt, or even laughter. They tell you it's impossible. They say you don't have what it takes, and slowly their voices start to echo in your own head. Maybe they're right. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe I'm foolish for even trying. But here's the truth most people will never tell you. Greatness is almost always born in isolation. The world doesn't believe in you at the beginning. The world doesn't clap when you start. The applause only comes after you've finished, after you've proven what they said was impossible. And that is why the most important decision you will ever make is this. Keep going, even if nobody believes in you. Think about it. Every breakthrough in history, every innovation, every story of triumph started with one person facing a wall of disbelief. Thomas Edison's teachers told him he was too stupid to learn anything. Walt Disney was fired because he supposedly lacked imagination. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. If they had listened, if they had allowed the disbelief of others to dictate their actions, we would never know their names. What separates them from the countless others who gave up isn't talent, it isn't luck. It is an unshakable decision to keep moving forward when the world doubted them. The truth is, no one will believe in you until you give them a reason to. People trust results, not dreams. They respect proof, not potential. That's why you can't wait for validation. If you're waiting for the world to cheer you on, you'll be waiting forever. The belief has to start inside you. When everyone else says no, you must whisper yes. When they laugh, you must keep building. When they walk away, you must keep walking, because in the end, their doubt is not your destiny. Your persistence is. A young man once dreamed of creating a business that would revolutionize the way people lived. He told his family, his friends, and his peers. They laughed at him. They told him to be realistic, to get a safe job, to stop dreaming, but he refused to listen. He worked quietly, in obscurity, with no recognition and no support. Years passed. The same people who once mocked him now point to him as a genius, a visionary. What changed? Not them, him. His decision to keep going when nobody believed. That is the law of perseverance. Mockery always comes before respect. Here's the reality you must understand. Most people won't believe in you, not because you can't achieve your dream, but because they could never achieve it themselves. Their disbelief is not a reflection of your potential, it's a projection of their own limitations. They measure your vision against their fears, not against your possibilities. And if you let their doubts take root in your mind, you will carry their failures as your own. Don't do it. Their story is not your story. Their limits are not your limits. You must build a shield of persistence so strong that their disbelief bounces off you like rain against stone. But persistence is not glamorous. It means showing up when nobody notices. It means working in silence, with no recognition, no applause, no reward. It means pouring your effort into something the world has already written off, and that is why most people quit. They crave validation. They want someone to tell them they're on the right track. But here's the truth, you don't need anyone's permission to succeed. You don't need a cheerleader, a round of applause, or even understanding. You need only one thing, the will to keep going. Picture a runner alone on a track. The stadium is empty. No crowd, no cameras, no cheering voice. The only sound is the rhythm of his breath, the pounding of his feet, the whisper of his own doubts. That is the reality of chasing a dream. Success is not built in the spotlight. It is forged in silence when no one is watching, when no one cares, when no one believes. The finish line is not won in front of the crowd. It is won in the lonely miles when you wanted to quit, but kept moving forward. Every person who ever made it faced this trial. Steve Jobs was removed from the very company he founded, branded as a failure, dismissed as irrelevant. Did he give up? No. He kept going, and years later, he returned to redefine the world of technology. Michael Jordan,
was cut from his high school basketball team. He could have stopped right there, believed the voices that said he wasn't good enough, but he didn't. He kept going. Today, his name is synonymous with greatness. What do these stories teach us? That disbelief is not the end of your journey, it is the beginning. The truth is, disbelief is fuel if you choose to see it that way. Every "you can't" can become your reason to show that you can. Every laugh, every dismissal, every rejection can ignite your determination. The people who doubted you today will be the ones telling your story tomorrow, but only if you keep going. The path will not be easy. The nights will be long, the silence will feel heavy, the loneliness will sting, but the weight you carry in obscurity will become the crown you wear in victory. So what do you do when nobody believes in you? You believe anyway. You keep building. You keep climbing. You keep walking, one step at a time, one day at a time. You drown out the noise of their doubt with the drumbeat of your persistence, because in the end it is not their disbelief that defines your destiny, it is your refusal to stop. They won't understand you at first, they won't see what you see. They will question why you work late into the night, why you sacrifice comfort, why you keep pouring yourself into something that gives you no immediate reward. They'll call it foolishness, they'll call it a waste of time. But what they fail to realize is that every great achievement begins as invisible work. The roots grow underground before the tree ever touches the sky. What looks like nothing to them is actually everything. And if you stop now, if you let their disbelief convince you to quit, the roots will never break the surface, the tree will never be born, the world will never know what you were capable of. The harsh truth is this: nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to hand you belief, encouragement, or validation. Waiting for others to believe in you is like waiting for the wind to blow in your favor. You may wait forever. The wind doesn't decide the direction of your life. If you let disbelief control you, you will drift aimlessly, anchored by their doubts. But if you take control, if you keep going, regardless of the storm around you, you will chart your own course. Success is not a gift from others, it is a declaration you make with your action. Consider the story of J.K. Rowling. She was rejected by 12 different publishers. 12 people told her the story and her heart was worthless, unpublishable, not good enough. Imagine if she had listened. Imagine if she had stopped after the 5th rejection, or the 10th, or the 12th. The world would never have known Harry Potter. Millions of lives would never have been touched. What was the difference between her and countless writers who gave up? She kept going, even when nobody believed. She refused to silence her own belief. That is the pattern you must follow. You may be rejected, dismissed, ridiculed, but none of it matters if you continue forward. Rejection is not a verdict, it is a test of how much you want it, a test of whether you are willing to endure isolation, to walk the lonely road while others mock or doubt. If you cannot endure being misunderstood, you will never reach greatness. The road to extraordinary is paved with misunderstanding. People will laugh until they are forced to applaud. People will doubt until they are forced to believe. But that shift only happens if you refuse to stop. The reason so many give up is because they crave proof before persistence. They want results before effort. They want applause before discipline. But that is not how the world works. First you work, then the world notices. First you persist, then they believe. First you endure, then they respect. The order cannot be reversed. The world never believes first. That is your burden to carry. You must believe when nobody else does. You must carry the torch through the dark, trusting that one day the light will break. Think about the Wright brothers, 2 bicycle mechanics with no formal education, no resources, no backing from respected institutions. Experts dismissed them, scientists mocked them, even the newspapers ridiculed their vision of flight, but they kept going. They tested, they failed, they tried again, they endured scorn and laughter until the day their machine lifted into the air. Suddenly the same world that doubted them called them pioneers. What changed? Nothing but persistence. They held their belief when nobody else would. That is why we remember their names. You will face the same trial. There will be days when your progress is invisible, when your effort feels wasted, when the silence of disbelief around you is deafening. In those moments, your mind will tempt you to quit. It will whisper, maybe they're right, maybe I'm not good enough. But this is the precise moment you must rise, because quitting now does not prove them right. It only ensures they are never proven wrong. Every step you take, even unseen, even unrecognized, is building something greater than you can imagine. Keep walking. Understand this. Belief is not a gift you wait for. It is a responsibility you cultivate. You are the guardian of your dream. You cannot hand it over to the opinions of others. If you let them decide whether you continue, you have already surrendered. The dream will die not because you lacked ability, but because you lacked persistence. And persistence is the one thing nobody can take from you. They can doubt you, mock you, reject you, but they cannot force you to stop. That choice is yours alone. So when nobody believes in you, treat it as fuel. Let their disbelief sharpen your resolve. Let their silence remind you to work in silence. Let their laughter echo in your mind until it transforms into your drive. One day, the very people who doubted you will tell others they knew you all along. They will rewrite history in their minds, pretending they saw your greatness from the beginning, and you will smile, because you will know the truth that the only reason you are standing in victory is because you refused to stop when nobody else could see it. The road is lonely, the nights are long, the weight of doubt is heavy, but the prize belongs to those who keep moving. Every legend you admire, every success story you repeat, every hero you look up to once stood exactly where you are now, in a place where nobody believed, and the reason their names live on is simple. They didn't stop, neither should you.
When nobody believes in you, it is easy to feel invisible. You put in the hours, you pour yourself into the work, yet the world moves on as if you don't exist. You see others being celebrated, supported, lifted up, while your efforts remain unnoticed. That silence can be suffocating. It makes you question whether your work matters at all. But here's the truth you must never forget. Silence does not mean failure. Silence is the soil where greatness takes root. Recognition comes last. The work comes first. If you are waiting to be seen before you act, you will never act. You must be willing to grind in obscurity, trusting that the day will come when the world can no longer ignore what you have built. Think of the artist who paints in a dimly lit studio for years with no gallery to showcase his work, or the athlete who trains in the shadows of empty gyms long before the spotlight finds them, or the writer who fills notebook after notebook without a single reader. These people all share one thing: the discipline to keep going when no one is watching. That is the crucible of greatness. What you do in the dark determines what the world will see in the light. If you abandon the process in silence, you will never experience the applause in the end. But if you endure, the silence becomes your advantage, your training ground, your secret weapon. The truth is, most people cannot handle being unseen. They crave validation so much that the lack of it breaks them. They post, they share, they shout for attention, hoping someone will notice, and when no one does, they stop. But understand this: greatness is not built on being noticed. It is built on being relentless. The people who eventually rise are the ones who kept showing up when no one cared. They didn't need permission to continue. They didn't need an audience to practice. They didn't need applause to persist. Their belief was enough. Take Vincent van Gogh. During his lifetime, he sold almost none of his paintings. To the world, he was a failure, a madman, a wasted talent. He died believing no one valued his work. Yet today, his art is priceless, his name immortal. What changed? Not his skill, not his dedication. The world changed. It caught up to what he had been creating all along. His tragedy is that he never saw the validation he deserved. But his legacy teaches us this: the world may not believe in you today, but that does not diminish the value of your work. Your responsibility is not to be validated. Your responsibility is to create, to persist, to endure. You must stop seeking proof before persistence. You cannot wait for the world to clap before you continue. Think of a seed buried in the ground for weeks, maybe months. It lies unseen. Above the soil, it looks like nothing is happening, but beneath, roots are spreading, strength is being built. If you dig it up because you see no progress, you kill the very thing that was growing. Your dream is the same.
Just because the world cannot see it yet does not mean it isn't growing. Keep watering, keep tending, keep believing, because one day it will break through the surface, and then the same people who doubted you will marvel at what you've grown. Disbelief will always surround you in the beginning. It is human nature to doubt what is unproven. People don't believe in what they cannot see. They believe in results, and results only come after persistence. That is why your job is not to convince them with words. Your job is to convince them with results. Don't argue with doubt. Don't waste your energy defending your vision to those who cannot see it. Pour that energy into building it, when it's real, when it's undeniable, when it stands before them in flesh and form. They will have no choice but to believe. But until then, your silence is your shield, your persistence, your weapon. Consider Elon Musk in the early days of SpaceX. People laughed at the idea of a private company building rockets. They called it reckless, impossible, a billionaire's fantasy. He was mocked in the press, dismissed by experts, doubted by governments. Yet he kept going. He poured his resources, his energy, his belief into the project. 3 rockets exploded in failure. The world was certain he was finished, but he launched again, and this time it worked. Suddenly, the laughter stopped. The same voices that ridiculed him now call him a visionary. Did their opinions change first? No. The results changed first. That is the pattern. Keep going until the work speaks so loudly they cannot ignore it. The lonely road is not a punishment, it is preparation. Walking alone builds strength that applause can never give you. It teaches you resilience, focus, and conviction. When nobody believes in you, you are forced to decide whether your belief is strong enough to carry you, and if you endure that trial, nothing can shake you. Because when the world finally does notice, when the recognition comes, it will not define you. You will already know who you are. You will already have proven it to yourself. That is the unshakable foundation of true success. So embrace the silence, embrace the disbelief, use it to sharpen your resolve. Let them doubt, let them laugh, let them dismiss you. None of it matters, because you know the truth. Belief is not given, it is earned. Respect is not handed out, it is built, and the only way to build it is to keep going. Every step you take in obscurity is one step closer to inevitability. Every hour you invest unseen is a down payment on your future, and one day, when the world finally opens its eyes, you will not need to say a word. Your results will speak for you. Doubt has a strange power. It creeps into your mind disguised as logic, disguised as reason, disguised as the voice of people you love and trust. They'll say things like, "I just don't want to see you get hurt," or "Be realistic, maybe this isn't for you." And because those voices come from people close to you, they cut deeper than the criticism of strangers. You start to wonder if maybe they're right. Maybe you're chasing something impossible, but here's the reality. You cannot expect others to see a vision that was never given to them. Your dream was placed in you, not in them. Their lack of belief doesn't mean you're wrong. It means they weren't meant to see it yet. That is why you must keep going, even when the doubt comes from those you thought would support you. History is full of men and women who had to walk alone. Albert Einstein was dismissed as slow and incapable by his teachers. Nikola Tesla was mocked, ridiculed, and left in obscurity for much of his life. Rosa Parks was told her act of defiance was useless, that nothing would change. Yet each of them held on to their belief even when society, experts and family refused to understand. If they had yielded to those voices, the world would be poorer, dimmer, smaller. What they teach us is clear. The disbelief of others is not a prophecy, it is background noise. And the stronger your vision, the more noise you will face. The mistake most people make is trying to win everyone over. They explain, defend, argue, hoping to convince others to believe. But the more you try to convince, the more you drain yourself. Belief is not something you demand from others. It is something you demonstrate through results. Every second you spend trying to prove yourself with words is a second stolen from the work that will one day prove itself. Stop talking. Stop begging for validation. Let your results be your voice. Let your persistence be your proof. The truth is, no one owes you belief. Not your parents, not your friends, not your colleagues, not society. The only person who owes you belief is you. If you wait for external belief before you act, you will never act. The path requires that you become your own source of encouragement. It requires you to say, I will keep going, even when no one claps, even when no one understands. This self-belief is not arrogance. It is survival. Without it, you will crumble under the weight of other people's doubt. With it, you will turn that weight into resistance training, building strength every time they push against you. Think of Abraham Lincoln. Before becoming one of the greatest leaders in history, he faced defeat after defeat, business failures, election losses, public criticism. People told him to give up on politics, that he wasn't cut out for leadership, yet he kept going, year after year, setback after setback. He persisted. Eventually, he rose to the presidency and led a nation through its darkest hour. What if he had listened? What if he had stopped? The lesson is clear. The disbelief of others is only final if you accept it as your own. But disbelief doesn't just come in words. It comes in silence, in indifference, in the absence of support. You share your progress and no one reacts. You talk about your dream, and they change the subject. That silence can sting worse than criticism, because it feels like you don't matter. But remember this, silence is not the absence of progress. It is the quiet before the breakthrough. The world is watching, even when it pretends not. And the day you succeed, the silence will turn into applause, so loud it will echo in the same voices that once ignored you. Don't give up in the silence. The silence is part of the process. You must accept that loneliness is the price of vision. Not everyone can walk with you. Not everyone can see what you see. That is why leaders are rare, why pioneers are few, why greatness belongs to the stubborn few who refuse to quit. The loneliness you feel now is proof you are on the right path. If everyone believed in you, you would not be doing something extraordinary. You would be doing something ordinary. The doubt surrounding you is confirmation that you are pursuing something beyond their imagination. Wear that doubt as a badge of honor. It means you are building what others cannot yet see. Imagine climbing a mountain alone. The air gets thinner, the path steeper, the rocks sharper. At the base, the crowd gathers, shouting that you'll never make it. Some laugh, some shake their heads, some turn away, but you climb anyway, step by step, breath by breath, mile by mile, you climb. And one day, you stand at the peak, looking down at the same crowd who doubted you. They see you now, they believe now, but the belief came too late to matter, because you already knew, long before they did, that you would make it. That is the picture you must hold in your mind, every time doubt surrounds you. So what do? When no one believes in you, you become unstoppable. You stop seeking permission and start creating results. You let their doubt fuel you, not stop you. You accept the loneliness as a test of your strength. You embrace the silence as preparation for the roar of victory. And most importantly, you keep moving, step by step, even when the path is steep, even when the world is against you. Because in the end, their disbelief cannot stop you. Only your surrender can. And if you refuse to surrender, if you keep going, nothing can keep you from the summit.
Every time you decide to keep going, you separate yourself from the majority. Most people quit the moment resistance shows up. They set out with enthusiasm, but the first sign of struggle makes them retreat. They say, it's too hard, or maybe it's not meant for me. And in that moment, they hand their dreams over to fear. That's why persistence is rare. It's not that success is impossible, it's that most people lack the endurance to keep moving through disbelief, doubt, and difficulty. If you can endure what others cannot, you will achieve what others never will. The price of greatness is persistence when no one else believes. If you can pay that price, the reward is inevitable. Think about Henry Ford. Before the automobile became the standard of modern life, Ford faced ridicule for even suggesting that ordinary families could own a car. People mocked him, calling his ideas unrealistic. Investors pulled out. Experts dismissed him, but Ford's belief was greater than their doubt. He built, tested, failed, and rebuilt. He faced bankruptcy, criticism, and rejection. Yet he kept going. In time, he didn't just build a car. He built an industry, and the same world that mocked him now drives the machines he imagined. That is the power of persistence. Doubt may surround you in the present, but persistence ensures belief in the future. Most people think success comes from being talented or lucky,
but talent without persistence burns out. Luck without persistence fades. The world is full of gifted people who never finished, who gave up when it got hard, who allowed disbelief to drown their vision. What separates the extraordinary from the forgotten is not brilliance, it is stamina. The willingness to keep showing up after failure, after rejection, after everyone else has stopped. Persistence turns ordinary men and women into legends, and that persistence begins with one decision: I will keep going, even if nobody believes in me. The problem is, doubt doesn't just come from others, it also comes from within. When you've worked for months or years without results, your own mind becomes your enemy. It whispers, maybe they're right, maybe I'm not cut out for this. That inner doubt is the most dangerous of all, because it comes in your own voice. But you must remember, the mind believes what you feed it. If you feed it discouragement, it will grow weak. If you feed it persistence, it will grow strong. That's why self-belief is a daily choice. Every morning you wake up, you must decide again to keep going. Not because it's easy, but because quitting guarantees failure, and persistence guarantees possibility. There's a story of a miner who dug for years searching for gold. He spent countless days, countless nights, breaking rocks, moving earth, sweating, and straining. After years with nothing to show, he quit. Another man came along, picked up where he left off, and within 3 feet struck one of the richest veins ever discovered. The first miner wasn't lacking effort. He wasn't lacking skill. He was lacking persistence. He quit just before the breakthrough. That is the tragedy of so many lives. They stop just short of success. Don't let that be your story. The gold you seek may be just a little further, but you'll never know if you stop digging. The world often teaches us to look for immediate rewards, quick success, instant recognition, but lasting achievement never comes instantly. It is forged in seasons of obscurity, of effort without applause. Think of bamboo. For years after planting, nothing appears above the soil. People walk past, seeing nothing, assuming nothing is happening, but underground, roots are spreading, growing deep and strong. Then, suddenly in a matter of weeks, bamboo shoots skyward, growing faster than almost any other plant. That's how dreams work. You grind in silence, unseen, until one day the growth explodes, and the same people who doubted you are left wondering how you rose so quickly. The truth is, you didn't rise suddenly, you were growing the whole time. You just refused to stop. When nobody believes in you, persistence becomes your weapon. Every day you move forward, you weaken the power of their doubt. Every action you take, no matter how small, proves them wrong in advance. They may not see it now, but you are building momentum. Momentum is invisible at first, but once it begins, it becomes unstoppable. Like a snowball rolling down a hill, your persistence gathers power until it cannot be denied. The world cannot argue with results, and results only come to those who refuse to stop. Ask yourself this: what would happen if you simply refused to quit? No matter the disbelief, no matter the setbacks, no matter the silence, what if you kept going until success had no choice but to appear? Most people fail, not because they lacked the ability, but because they surrendered too soon. Persistence guarantees that failure is never final. The only way you truly fail is by giving up. If you keep moving, keep adjusting, keep showing up, you will eventually break through. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but persistence makes success inevitable. So when the voices of doubt rise around you, when the silence of indifference weighs heavy, when your own mind whispers that maybe you should stop, remember this: the world only believes in finished stories. Your story isn't finished yet. Keep going. Write the next page. Take the next step. Swing the pick one more time. Because persistence is not just a habit, it is the bridge between disbelief and destiny. And if you keep walking that bridge, sooner or later, you will arrive where others said you never could. There will come a point when the disbelief around you feels louder than your own voice. Every conversation reminds you of your isolation. Every look, every dismissive smile, every polite nod that hides doubt behind it, becomes another weight pressing down on your spirit. And you will be tempted to lower your head, to shrink your dream, so it fits inside their expectations. That temptation is powerful, but it is also deadly, because the moment you adjust your vision to make others comfortable, you kill the very thing that makes it worth chasing. You were not given your dream so you could water it down. You were given your dream so you could carry it full strength, even when no one else can handle it. To keep going when nobody believes, you must guard your vision like treasure. The truth is, people doubt what they cannot measure. If they can't see the blueprint, if they can't calculate the numbers, if they can't imagine the outcome, they will say it cannot be done. But remember this: the greatest achievements in history were all things that couldn't be measured at the start. Flight, electricity, communication across oceans, each of these began as ideas too large for ordinary minds to grasp. The dreamers who pursued them weren't relying on external belief, they were relying on their inner conviction. That conviction carried them through ridicule and rejection. That same conviction must carry you. Conviction is not a feeling, it is not the fleeting spark of motivation that comes and goes with your mood. Conviction is a decision, it is a line drawn in your soul that says, I will not stop until this is done. When nobody believes in you, conviction becomes the anchor that keeps you steady. Without it, every doubt will sway you, every rejection will break you. But with conviction, you become unshakable. Their disbelief may surround you like waves, but you stand like a rock in the storm, unmoved because you know who you are and what you are building. Think of Colonel Harland Sanders, the man who founded Kentucky Fried Chicken. At 65 years old, after losing his job, he decided to pursue his dream of selling his fried chicken recipe. He traveled across the country, pitching his idea to restaurants. Over 1,000 people rejected him. 1,000. They told him it wouldn't work, that nobody wanted it, that he was wasting his time, but he kept going. On the 1,001st attempt, someone finally said yes. That single yes built an empire. What if he had stopped at rejection number 50, or number 500, or 999? The world would never know his name. His story teaches us this: you don't need everyone to believe, you just need to keep going until the right one does. That is the danger of quitting too soon. You may be one step away from the opportunity that changes everything. You may be on the edge of the breakthrough you've been working for, but if you surrender to doubt, you will never see it. The disbelief of others is not proof of your failure, it is simply the resistance you must push through to reach your success. If the road feels heavy, if the world feels against you, you are not failing, you are progressing. Resistance means you are moving. Doubt means you are on the path to something greater than ordinary minds can comprehend. Sometimes, though, the hardest disbelief to face is your own. You can ignore strangers, you can endure critics, but when your own mind begins to whisper that you aren't good enough, that maybe you're wasting your time, that voice feels impossible to silence. Yet here is the truth: your doubts are they are the echoes of other people's fears, absorbed and repeated in your own head. Your responsibility is not to obey them, your responsibility is to challenge them. Every time doubt says, you can't, you answer with action, not words, not arguments. Action is the only language that silences doubt, and every step you take becomes evidence that your belief is stronger than your fear. Imagine a runner near the end of a marathon. Exhaustion has set in, his legs are heavy, his lungs are burning, his body is screaming to stop. Around him, some runners are quitting, stepping off the course, others slow to a walk. Spectators are yelling, you don't have to finish, it's okay. But deep inside, something tells him to keep going. 1 foot forward, then another, each painful step a declaration: I will not stop. That is what persistence looks like. Not glamorous, not easy, but powerful beyond measure, because in that moment, it is no longer about winning the race, it is about proving to himself that nothing, not pain, not doubt, not disbelief can break him. That is the spirit you must carry in your own race. The reality is this: if you keep going long enough, belief will come. The same people who doubted you will look at your progress and say they always knew you'd succeed. They will rewrite history in their minds, erasing their disbelief. But by then, their belief won't matter, because you will already have built the life you envisioned. You will already have crossed the finish line. You will already have proven to yourself what you were capable of. The only belief you ever truly needed was your own. So keep going. Keep walking through the silence, through the rejection, through the laughter, through the nights when you wonder if it's worth it. Keep going when the weight feels unbearable, when the road feels endless, when the world refuses to see what you see. Keep going, because your persistence is the only guarantee that one day they will, and even if they never do, even if the world never applauds, you will know you refused to surrender, you will know you carried your vision to the very end, and that knowledge, that unbreakable proof of your own resilience, is worth more than every cheer combined.
Every person who has ever made history walked through the fire of disbelief. They were laughed at, rejected, and abandoned, yet they kept going. That is the thread that connects them all, an unshakable refusal to stop. And here's what you must realize. Disbelief is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. Disbelief is confirmation that you are building something uncommon, something rare, something greater than the minds around you can understand. If everyone agreed with you, if everyone supported you, you wouldn't be pursuing something extraordinary, you would be chasing something ordinary. The resistance you feel is proof that your vision is worth it. Most people fold under pressure because they mistake doubt for evidence. They hear you can't so many times, they start to believe it must be true, but repetition does not equal reality. 1,000 voices telling you that you can't still does not make it true. Only your actions decide that. If you take one more step, one more swing, one more shot, you've already proven them wrong in advance. Failure is only final if you quit. As long as you continue, the possibility of success remains alive. You carry that possibility with every action you take, no matter how small, no matter how unnoticed. Look at the story of Shuichiro Honda. As a young man, he applied for a job at Toyota and was rejected. The company told him he wasn't good enough. Most would have taken that rejection as a final verdict, but Honda didn't. Instead, he started his own company. In the beginning, people mocked his small shop, his unconventional ideas, his impossible dream. He worked in obscurity, building piece by piece. Decades later, the Honda Motor Company became one of the most successful automobile manufacturers in the world. The very industry that once rejected him was reshaped by his persistence. His story isn't about luck, it's about keeping going when nobody else believes. The truth is, nobody sees the countless hours behind success. They don't see the empty rooms you worked in, the long nights, the sacrifices. They only see the finished product, and then act as if it appeared overnight. That is why you cannot live for their approval. They will never understand the process. They will only recognize the result. You must be willing to work in silence, to push forward without applause, to grind day after day, knowing that one day the results will speak so loudly no one can ignore them. Their disbelief doesn't matter in the process. It only matters that you endure long enough to prove it wrong. There is a hidden gift in being doubted. Doubt forces you to dig deeper, to build strength you didn't know you had. When no one supports you, you learn to support yourself. When no one pushes you, you learn to push yourself. When no one believes, you learn to create belief out of nothing but persistence. That is why the most resilient people often come from the harshest beginnings. They had no choice but to believe in themselves, and that belief became unbreakable, forged in the fire of disbelief. If you are doubted now, count it as training. You are becoming unshakable. Think of a blacksmith hammering steel. Each strike, each spark, each burn of heat is painful to endure, but it is necessary to create a blade strong enough to endure battle. Disbelief is the hammer, rejection is the fire, criticism is the spark, and you are the steel being forged. With each blow you are becoming sharper, stronger, more resilient. If you quit now, you remain unfinished metal, but if you endure the fire, if you withstand the hammer, you emerge as something indestructible. That is the gift hidden inside the doubt of others. It is shaping you into someone unstoppable. You must remind yourself daily that belief is not a requirement for progress. You do not need permission to succeed. You do not need approval to advance. Every step forward is yours to take, regardless of who sees it, who acknowledges it, who claps for it. Think of the pioneers who traveled west across uncharted land, guided by nothing but conviction. No maps, no guides, no guarantees, just a belief that something greater lay ahead. They faced hunger, storms, loneliness, and danger, but they kept going, and because they did,
the world expanded. Their persistence built opportunities for generations who came after them. That is the weight of your persistence too. You are not only building for yourself but for those who will follow in your footsteps. Understand this. Every time you push forward through disbelief, you are building credibility. The world may not see it yet, but you are stacking evidence brick by brick. And one day, those bricks will form a wall, so undeniable that even the loudest doubters will be silenced. You don't need to win them over now. You don't need to prove anything today. Your persistence is the proof. Every action is a testimony. Every step forward is another piece of evidence in the case for your greatness. One day, the verdict will be clear, but until then, keep laying bricks. So when the world tells you to quit, when the silence of disbelief grows heavy, when your own doubts begin to rise, remember this: you are not defined by their lack of belief, you are defined by your refusal to stop. Each moment you persist, you grow stronger. Each day you endure, you move closer. And though they may not see it, though they may laugh or dismiss or ignore, you are building something they will one day have no choice but to respect. Keep going, keep building, keep climbing, because disbelief cannot destroy you unless you let it. And if you refuse to let it, if you choose persistence over surrender, nothing, no voice, no silence, no rejection can stop what you are becoming. There will come a time when the disbelief turns into pressure, so heavy it feels like carrying the world on your back. You'll wake up exhausted, questioning whether another day of effort is worth it. The voices of doubt will echo louder, not quieter. As you make progress, people will point to your lack of visible results and say, "See, I told you it wouldn't work." That moment is critical, because that is the moment most people quit. They let the weight of disbelief crush their will, but not you, not if you've chosen to keep going, because that exact point, the breaking point, is where breakthroughs are born. The wall that stands before you is not a barrier, it is a threshold. Push through it, and everything changes. Stop there, and you'll never know what waited on the other side. Disbelief does not disappear quickly. It lingers. Even when you begin to achieve small victories, people will say they are accidents, flukes. They will minimize your progress, so they can maintain their sense of being right. Don't waste energy fighting them. Don't argue. Don't try to convince. Every ounce of energy spent defending yourself is energy stolen from your progress. Let them think what they want. While they talk, you move. While they doubt, you act. While they wait for proof, you create it. Action is the only argument you need. Consider the story of Sylvester Stallone. Before Rocky became an iconic film, Stallone was broke, rejected by countless studios, and even told he should give up acting altogether. People laughed at his dream. He was offered money for his script, but only if he agreed not to star in it. He refused, holding on to his vision even when no one believed. He kept pushing, kept fighting, until finally someone gave him the chance. Rocky went on to win Academy Awards and make Stallone a household name. The very people who told him he had no future in acting were forced to watch as the world celebrated him. Why? Because he kept going when disbelief surrounded him. He refused to sell out, refused to surrender, refused to let go of the dream that only he could see. That is the lesson. You must be prepared to walk alone, alone in your vision, alone in your fight, alone in your pursuit. But here's the paradox. The longer you walk alone, the stronger you become. Loneliness trains your spirit. It forces you to rely on your own conviction, instead of leaning on the validation of others. And once you've endured it, once you've proven to yourself that you can keep moving without applause, you become unstoppable. Because if you can walk without support, what could possibly hold you back once support arrives? The loneliness you feel today is the foundation of the strength you'll stand on tomorrow. You must also understand this. The world is built to doubt pioneers. Every system, every tradition, every habit of society resists change. And if your dream threatens to change something, disbelief is the natural response. People doubt not because you are wrong, but because they fear what you represent. Your persistence reminds them of their own complacency. Your courage highlights their own hesitation. Your progress exposes their own excuses. That's why they resist you. That's why they don't believe. It has nothing to do with your worth. It has everything to do with their fear. If you let their fear stop you, you will inherit their mediocrity. But if you push forward, you will inherit your destiny. Imagine a sculptor working with marble. At first, the stone looks like nothing, a rough, unshaped block. People walk by and scoff. What a waste of time. They say, "It will never be beautiful." They cannot see what the sculptor sees. They do not believe, because they do not understand. But the sculptor does not argue. He does not waste time convincing them. He keeps chiseling, day after day, stroke after stroke. Slowly, a shape emerges. Slowly, beauty reveals itself. And one day, the same people who laughed stand in awe before the finished masterpiece. That is your journey. Right now, all they see is the rough stone, but inside you lies the masterpiece, and only persistence will reveal it. The secret is this: persistence outlasts disbelief. People doubt loudly at the beginning, but their voices fade as your results grow. First, they mock, then they ignore, then they watch, and finally, they applaud. But that cycle only completes if you endure long enough to reach the final stage. If you stop in the mocking stage, all you'll ever hear is laughter. If you quit in the ignoring stage, all you'll ever feel is silence. But if you persist, if you push forward, eventually disbelief transforms into belief, and those who doubted you will tell your story as proof of what persistence can achieve. You may be tired, you may feel beaten down, you may be carrying scars from every rejection, every dismissal, every failure. But remember this: those scars are not signs of defeat. They are signs of survival. They are proof that you endured what others could not, and each scar is preparing you for the day when the disbelief ends, when your results cannot be denied, when your name is spoken with respect. The scars you carry are your evidence that you kept going. Wear them proudly. They are medals earned in the battle of persistence. So keep chiseling, keep running, keep climbing. The disbelief will not vanish overnight, but it will vanish eventually. And when it does, when the world finally sees what you've built, when they finally recognize the masterpiece you've created, you will know it wasn't their belief that carried you there, it was yours. Their disbelief didn't matter. Their silence didn't stop you. Their laughter didn't break you, because you kept going. And that decision, that relentless, unshakable decision, is the reason you will stand where they said you never could.
Every great journey reaches a stage where persistence becomes the only thing holding you together. The early excitement has faded. The applause never came. The disbelief has grown louder, and the results you hoped for seem so far away you wonder if they'll ever appear. This is the valley, the place where most people quit. They stop not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunity, but because they lack the strength to keep walking through the valley. But if you endure, if you push forward, when everything inside you screams to stop, you will discover that the valley is not the end, it is the passage. On the other side lies the very breakthrough you have been fighting for. The valley is where dreams are tested. Anyone can start when the path is clear and the crowd is cheering. But who can keep moving when the lights are gone and the road feels endless? Who can endure the silence, the loneliness, the doubt? That is the real measure of greatness. Because the valley weeds out the pretenders from the persistent. Those who quit in the valley will forever wonder what might have been. Those who keep going through it will look back one day and realize the valley was the very place where they became unbreakable. Think of Thomas Edison working on the electric light bulb. Failure after failure, thousands of attempts that led nowhere. The world doubted him, mocked him, called him a fool, wasting his life on an impossible dream. But Edison kept walking through his valley. Each failure was not an ending but a lesson. Each setback was a step forward. Eventually the light shone, and the world changed forever. But it wasn't the light bulb itself that defined Edison's greatness. It was his refusal to quit in the valley. Most people want success to come quickly. They want validation early. They want proof without persistence. But the reality is this: the valley exists to test your resolve. If you can be stopped, you will be stopped here. The disbelief of others is magnified in the valley. Your own doubts echo loud. The temptation to quit feels overwhelming. And yet, if you can keep going here, you can keep going anywhere. If you can take another step in the valley, you've already proven yourself stronger than 90% of the world. There's a story of a man who trained for years to become a boxer. His friends doubted him. His family told him to give up. He fought in small, forgotten gyms where no one clapped for him. He endured defeat after defeat, ridicule after ridicule, but he kept training. He kept showing up. Eventually he got his chance at a major fight, and against every odd,
Against every voice that told him he couldn't, he won. That victory wasn't earned in the spotlight of the ring. It was earned in the valley of obscurity, in the lonely hours when nobody believed in him. His persistence carried him where doubt never could. That is the truth you must hold close. Success is not built in the spotlight. It is built in the shadows. It is built when you keep writing even though no one reads. When you keep training, even though no one watches. When you keep building, even though no one notices. That lonely persistence is the foundation of every victory. By the time the world finally sees you, you will already know who you are, because you proved it in the silence. Disbelief is loudest right before the breakthrough. That's why so many stop too soon. They misinterpret the intensity of resistance as a sign they should quit, when in reality it is proof they are closer than ever. Resistance grows as you near the summit, because the climb is steeper, the air thinner, the challenge greater. But that is not a signal it is a signal to dig deeper. If you can push through when it is hardest, you will soon find yourself standing where the world said you never would. Think of gold miners striking their richest finds just after years of futility. Think of entrepreneurs whose businesses finally succeed after countless failures. Think of athletes who finally win after years of loss. In each case, the disbelief was heaviest right before the victory, and in each case, persistence was the only difference between quitting in defeat and rising in triumph. So when you find yourself in your own valley, surrounded by silence and doubt, remind yourself this is the test. This is where the weak surrender and the strong are forward. Every step you take here is a declaration that you will not join the ranks of those who gave up. Every step is proof that you are different, that you are stronger, that you will endure until you reach the other side. One day you will look back on this valley with gratitude, not because it was easy, but because it shaped you. The disbelief you faced will become the very fuel that drove you. The silence you endured will become the foundation of your strength, and the victory you achieve will taste sweeter because you know how much it cost. So keep going, through the silence, through the rejection, through the pain, through the valley. Keep walking when nobody walks with you. Keep climbing when nobody believes you can reach the top. Because the valley is not your final destination, it is only the passage. And if you refuse to stop, the passage will lead you to the very summit others said you'd never see. ChatGPT said, "The day will come when your persistence begins to show itself in visible ways. At first it's small, barely noticeable to anyone but you. A result here, a breakthrough there, a sign that all the unseen effort wasn't wasted. To outsiders it looks insignificant. They shrug it off, dismiss it as luck, a coincidence, a temporary win. But you know better. You know what it cost. You know the years of rejection, the nights of doubt, the mornings where getting out of bed felt impossible. You know the loneliness, the silence, the disbelief, and because you endured all of it, you can see the truth. They may not recognize it yet, but this is the beginning of the This is the moment when your persistence starts speaking louder than their doubt. The strange thing is, the world resists belief until it can no longer deny the evidence. People are conditioned to trust what they see, not what they hear. You may have told them 1,000 times what you were building, but until the results stand in front of them, your words mean nothing. That is why you cannot waste your life trying to persuade doubters with explanations. Their ears are deaf to vision, but their eyes will never be able to ignore results. Once the results show, belief follows like a shadow. Consider Jeff Bezos in the early days of Amazon. He left a secure career to sell books online, a laughable idea at the time. Friends and colleagues told him it would fail. Investors mocked him. Even years into building, Amazon was called a money-losing joke. But Bezos didn't stop. He kept building, kept moving forward, kept enduring the disbelief. And then the results came. Sales skyrocketed, expansion grew, and suddenly the same voices that ridiculed him called him a genius. What changed? Not him, not his vision. The only thing that changed was that the results became too big to ignore. That is the pattern you must accept. At first, you will be invisible. Then, you will be doubted. Then, you will be mocked. Then, you will be ignored. And if you persist long enough, you will finally be recognized. But you cannot skip the steps. Recognition is the reward for persistence. not the prerequisite for it. The applause comes after the performance, never before, and the performance is your daily persistence. The work you do when nobody believes. The mistake many people make is stopping when the results don't come quickly enough. They plant seeds and expect a harvest the next day. But growth doesn't work like that. Just because you don't see progress doesn't mean nothing is happening. The roots are spreading, the foundation is being built, and then suddenly the harvest comes. But it only comes to those who kept watering long after others. If you give up before the harvest, you will never taste the reward. Persistence is not glamorous. It is slow, repetitive, often invisible, but it is the only way to make results inevitable. Every breakthrough looks impossible right before it happens. That's why the voices of doubt are always loudest. Near the finish line, people can sense that you are about to prove them wrong, and they will throw everything at you to stop it. That is when you must double down. When you feel the weight the heaviest, when disbelief surrounds you the tightest, remind yourself, it means you are close. Don't stop when you're tired. Don't stop when you're discouraged. Stop only when you are finished. Think of Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, nearly 3 decades of silence, rejection, and disbelief. The world outside South Africa doubted he would ever see freedom. The government that held him believed he would die behind bars, but he endured, day after day, year after year. He persisted, and then one day, the prison doors opened. He walked out not broken, not defeated, but stronger, prepared to lead a nation. The results of his persistence could no longer be ignored. The same world that doubted him now celebrated him, and the lesson is clear. No matter how long it takes, persistence always pays off. Your journey may not demand decades in a cell, but it will demand years in the shadows. It will demand effort no one sees, battles no one understands, sacrifices no one appreciates. And when you finally rise, people will marvel at how quickly it seemed to happen. They'll call you an overnight success, ignoring the years of persistence that made it possible. Smile at that. Let them believe what they want. You'll know the truth. You'll know the nights you nearly quit, the mornings you forced yourself forward, the days you worked in silence, and you'll know that the results they now celebrate were born in those very moments. So when you feel invisible, when you feel forgotten, when you feel crushed under the weight of disbelief, hold fast. Results don't come on your timeline. They come on persistence timeline, and persistence never fails. Every step you take builds pressure beneath the surface, until one day, it erupts in a way no one can deny. Keep walking, keep building, keep enduring, because the day is coming when your results will speak so loudly, the world will have no choice but to believe.
Momentum is a mysterious force. It begins in silence, unnoticed, hidden from the world. At first, it feels like nothing is happening. You work, you push, you sacrifice, and the results are small, almost invisible. But persistence has a way of multiplying itself. One action leads to another. One victory opens the door to the next. One breakthrough creates the conditions for more. Slowly, the tide begins to shift. What once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. This is momentum, the reward for refusing to quit when nobody believed. The thing about momentum is that it doesn't ask for permission. It builds quietly, gathering strength beneath the surface until suddenly it explodes into view. That's why so many people call success overnight. They only see the eruption, not the years of pressure building beneath it. But you know the truth. You know every unseen hour, every lonely step, every day you chose to keep going when others doubted you. Momentum is not magic. It is persistence compounded over time. Look at the story of Serena Williams. Before she became a legend, she was just a girl from Compton with a racket and a dream. Few believed she could dominate a sport controlled by privilege and tradition. She faced doubt, criticism, and barriers at every turn, but she kept training, kept winning small matches, kept showing up. Slowly, the momentum built, victory after victory, breakthrough after breakthrough, until she was unstoppable. The same people who doubted her now speak her name with reverence. What changed? Nothing but persistence turning into momentum. Momentum is proof that belief is not required from others. You don't need them to cheer for you at the start.
You don't need them to clap when you're invisible. If you keep moving, momentum will carry you to a place where the results are undeniable, and once that happens, even the loudest doubters will have no choice but to change their tune. They will pretend they always believed, but you will remember the truth. You walked alone until the momentum carried you beyond their reach. The problem is that most people quit before momentum has a chance to build. They give up in the early stages, when progress feels slow, when disbelief is heavy, when results are scarce. But persistence is like pushing a heavy boulder up a hill. At first it barely moves. You strain, you sweat, you fight, and the boulder resists. But if you keep pushing, inch by inch, step by step, eventually it reaches the tipping point, and once it begins to roll, nothing can stop it. That's momentum. The hardest part is the beginning. The reward is the unstoppable force that comes later. Think of Elon Musk again. His early years at SpaceX and Tesla were filled with failure, ridicule, and doubt. People said his companies were doomed, but he kept pushing, rocket after rocket, test after test, attempt after attempt. The boulder resisted, but he did not quit, and then the momentum came. Successful launches, groundbreaking innovations, growing markets. Suddenly the companies once dismissed as foolish became the very symbols of the future. That's what momentum does. It silences disbelief and amplifies persistence until the world can't help but notice. Here's the secret. Momentum is not given, it is earned. You earn it through discipline, through consistency, through refusing to surrender when the progress feels too small to matter. You earn it by showing up on days when you don't feel like it, by moving forward when nobody claps, by believing when no one else does. Each action is like another push on the boulder. It may not seem significant in the moment, but every push matters. Every push builds pressure. Every push moves you closer to the tipping point. Momentum is also dangerous to those who doubt you, because once it begins, it grows beyond their control. They cannot stop it, cannot contain it, cannot deny it. They will be forced to watch as the very thing they dismissed takes over. That is why you must never stop in the early stages, because the moment you do, the boulder rolls back. But if you endure, if you persist long enough to reach momentum, your victory becomes inevitable. Think of your own journey. Imagine all the effort you've already poured in, all the nights you refused to quit, all the steps you've taken through doubt and disbelief. None of it is wasted. Every single one has been a push, building pressure, preparing momentum. Even if you can't see it yet, it is growing beneath the surface, and the day will come when the weight shifts, when the boulder begins to roll, when the progress accelerates faster than you ever imagined. That day belongs only to those who refuse to quit. So keep pushing, keep walking, keep grinding. When nobody believes, when progress feels invisible, when the weight seems unbearable, remind yourself this is the stage before momentum. This is the proving ground. And if you keep going, if you endure a little longer, you will reach the point where your persistence ignites momentum. And from there, nothing, no doubt, no critic, no disbelief will be able to stop you. Because once momentum arrives, the same voices that doubted you will be drowned out by the sound of your progress, and you will know it wasn't their belief that carried you here. It was yours. It was your persistence, your endurance, your refusal to stop. And that, more than anything, is what makes you unstoppable. Recognition is a strange thing. It arrives late, long after the work has been done, long after the hours have been invested, long after the nights of doubt and the mornings of struggle. At first, nobody sees you, then they dismiss you, then they question why you even bother. And yet, if you keep going, if you endure, through the silence and the ridicule, a day comes when their tone changes. They begin to notice the results. They begin to whisper your name. They begin to realize that maybe, just maybe, you were right all along. Recognition does not come when you ask for it. It comes when you no longer need it. The irony of recognition is that it always feels sudden to the world, but never to you. They will say you came out of nowhere, that your success happened overnight. But you will know the truth, that there were no overnight victories, only years of invisible persistence. You will remember the nights you wanted to quit, the days when no one believed, the countless times you had to carry yourself with nothing but raw willpower. To them it looks easy. To you it feels like survival. that that's the way it always is. People celebrate the harvest, but rarely acknowledge the years of planting. Think of Maya Angelou. Before the world celebrated her as one of the greatest poets and voices of her generation, she endured years of rejection and doubt. Publishers turned her down. Critics dismissed her. She was told her words would never matter, but she kept writing. She kept going, even when nobody believed, and eventually, the world could no longer ignore the power of her voice. Today, her work is studied, quoted, and remembered. Recognition came, but only because she refused to stop when disbelief surrounded her. Recognition is never the beginning, it is always the reward at the end of persistence. That is why you must stop craving it early. If you chase applause too soon, you will sabotage yourself. You will bend your dream to fit the approval of others. You will dilute your vision to make it palatable, and in doing so, you will lose the very strength that made it worth pursuing. True recognition comes only when you stand firm, when you refuse to shrink, when you keep building exactly as you see it, even when no one else does. Then, and only then, does the world recognize what you have created. The mistake many people make is quitting, because recognition doesn't arrive quickly. They post their work once, share their dream once, attempt their vision once, and when nobody claps, they retreat. But greatness does not respond to a single attempt, it responds to relentless pursuit. Recognition is reserved for those who show up day after day, who fight through silence, who endure through doubt. If you are willing to keep going without recognition, you are destined to receive it one day. But if you demand it too soon, you will never see it at all. Recognition also reveals the truth about disbelief. When success finally arrives, those who doubted you will suddenly change their story. They will say they always believed. They will claim they saw your potential from the start. They will rewrite history in their minds to protect their pride. Let them. Their story does not matter. What matters is that you remember the truth. Remember who doubted you. Remember who ignored you. Remember that you walked alone. And most importantly, remember that you did not need them to believe. The recognition is sweet, but the real reward is knowing you built it without their approval. Think of Oprah Winfrey, fired from her early television job, told she wasn't fit for broadcasting, dismissed as someone who would never succeed in the media world. If she had stopped there, the story would have ended in obscurity, but she kept going, she persisted, and when her breakthrough came, when recognition finally arrived, she didn't just succeed, she redefined an entire industry. The same people who once doubted her became the ones quoting her name as an example of vision and determination. Recognition turned their disbelief into silence. Recognition is powerful not because it validates you, but because it confirms what you already knew. You don't need the world to tell you that you were capable. You already proved it to yourself. Every time you kept going in the dark, you don't need their applause to feel worthy. You earned your worth on the days when you worked with nothing but your own belief. Recognition is not the source of your strength. It is the echo of it, and here is the truth. Once recognition comes, you will realize it was never about them, it was always about you. About proving to yourself that you could endure, that you could persist, that you could carry your dream, all the way to the end. Their recognition may bring applause, but your persistence brings transformation. That is the greater reward. That is the victory nobody can take away from you. So when recognition finally finds you, accept it humbly, but never forget the road that brought you here. Never forget the silence, the laughter, the disbelief. Never forget the nights when nobody believed in you, and you chose to keep going anyway. Because in the end, the recognition is not the prize is who you became. When nobody believed, the prize is the unshakable strength you forged in the fire of doubt. Recognition is simply the world's delayed applause for the performance you already gave.
There comes a moment when the recognition you fought so hard for transforms into something greater. Your persistence begins to inspire others. The same people who once doubted you, who whispered that you were wasting your time, now look at your journey differently. They start to wonder if maybe they too could endure, maybe they too could pursue their dreams, maybe they too could rise above disbelief. You become living proof that it is possible, and in that moment your story ceases to be just about you. It becomes a torch, a light for others still walking in the darkness you once knew so well. This is the quiet power of persistence. It doesn't just create results for you, it builds belief in those who had none. Your refusal to stop when nobody believed becomes the example someone else needs when nobody believes in them. They see your scars, your struggles, your victories, and they realize disbelief is not a wall, it's just an illusion. You've torn down the lie for them. You've shown them the path. And though they may not tell you, your journey has planted seeds of courage in their hearts. Think of Jackie Robinson. When he broke the color barrier in baseball, he endured hatred, insults, rejection, and disbelief on a scale most of us will never face. Yet he persisted. He kept showing up, kept playing, kept proving through his performance that no amount of prejudice or doubt could hold him back. In doing so, he didn't just succeed personally, he opened the door for generations after him. His persistence became inspiration, his courage became proof, and the disbelief that once tried to crush him became the very stage that displayed his greatness to the world. This is what happens when you keep going long enough. The people who doubted you begin to respect you. The people who laughed begin to listen. And beyond that, the people who are struggling begin to find hope in you. They see someone who walked through the same valley they're in, who faced the same disbelief they're facing, and they realize they are not alone. Your journey whispers to them, if I can keep going, so can you. And sometimes, that whisper is enough to keep them moving one more day. It's important to understand, though, that influence doesn't come from preaching. It doesn't come from lecturing others about persistence. It comes from living it. People don't follow words, they follow example. They don't trust speeches, they trust scars. Your influence is not in what you say, but in what you've endured and who you've become because of it. Every time you refused to quit, you were writing a chapter in a story that others can now read for strength. You don't have to force, you simply have to keep being relentless. The story will tell itself. Think of Malala Yousafzai. She faced disbelief, violence, and even attempts to silence her voice permanently. She could have given up. No one would have blamed her, but she kept going. And today, her story inspires millions, not because she told them to keep going, but because she lived it. Her persistence became the foundation of her influence. That is the truth you must hold close. If you keep going long enough, your persistence will echo beyond your own life. The beautiful irony is that the same voices that once told you it was impossible will begin to use your story as proof that nothing is impossible. The same people who laughed will now quote you. The same people who dismissed you will now tell others they always believed in you. Let them rewrite the story if they want, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you know the truth. They didn't believe, but you did, and because you believed, now they do. Influence is not about power, it's about presence. It's about the undeniable presence of someone who would not be broken, who would not stop, who would not surrender. That presence lingers, it changes people, it challenges them to face their own disbelief, to question their own excuses, to rise above their own limits. That is the gift of persistence. It multiplies. It begins with one person refusing to quit and ends with countless others finding the courage to keep going themselves. But influence also carries responsibility. Once you've proven that persistence works, once others look to you as an example, you cannot shrink back. You cannot forget the valley you walked through. You cannot pretend it was easy. You must tell the truth, that it was hard, that you doubted yourself, that you felt alone. Because in that honesty lies the real power, to inspire. People don't need the illusion of perfection. They need the reality of persistence. They need to see that you were broken but kept moving, that you were doubted but kept building, that you were tired but kept walking. That truth is what gives them strength. So keep going, not just for you now but for the ones watching silently, hoping someone will prove to them that it can be done. Keep going for the ones who need to borrow your belief until they find their own. Keep going for the ones who will never tell you how much your story matters, but who will carry it with them as fuel for their own fight. Because your persistence is bigger than you. It is bigger than your dream, bigger than your success. It is a legacy of belief in the face of disbelief. And one day when you see someone else rise, when you see them endure, when you see them succeed against all odds, you'll recognize something in them. You'll see the same fire you carried. You'll see your own story reflected in there. And you'll know that because you kept going when nobody believed in you, you gave someone else the courage to do the same. That is the highest reward persistence can give. Not just your own victory, but the victories of those who come after you. The final stages of persistence feel different.
By now the world may have begun to acknowledge you, recognition may have arrived, and influence may have begun to spread. But even here the memory of those early days lingers. You remember the silence, the disbelief, the ridicule. And it's important that you do, because forgetting those days makes you arrogant, but remembering them makes you unstoppable. You didn't climb this far to let pride weaken you. You climbed this far because you never forgot what it felt like when nobody believed. That memory is fuel. It keeps you grounded, it keeps you hungry, and it ensures you never take your progress for granted. The temptation now is to relax, to stop pushing as hard because you've proven the doubters wrong, because you've gained recognition, because you've built momentum. But persistence is not something you switch on and off. It is a way of life. If you stop here, if you let comfort dull your hunger, you risk losing the very fire that carried you through disbelief. The world is filled with stories of people who rose to success only to fall back into mediocrity because they stopped doing the very thing that made them great. Do not make that mistake. Remember the valley, remember the silence, remember the disbelief. Let those memories keep you sharp. Greatness is not a single victory. It is persistence applied again and again, in every stage, in every season. The world will celebrate your achievements, but you must keep building as if no one is watching. You must keep going as if disbelief still surrounds you, because in truth, it always will. There will always be new doubters, new critics, new voices, saying it cannot be done. Each new level of success brings with it new levels of resistance, but you already know the secret. Resistance is proof of progress. Disbelief is proof you are pushing boundaries. And the same persistence that carried you through before will carry you through again. Think of Michael Jordan. Even after becoming one of the greatest athletes in history, he was doubted when he tried to return to basketball after retirement. Critics said his time was over, that his best days were behind him. But Jordan's persistence didn't end with success. He came back and once again proved the world wrong. His story shows us that persistence is not about reaching one peak. It's about climbing every peak that stands before you, no matter how many there are. Persistence must become your identity. When people think of you, they should think of someone who does not stop, someone who does not quit, someone who cannot be broken by disbelief. Because the truth is, disbelief never fully disappears. Even when the majority begins to applaud you, there will always be those who resist, those who criticize, those who hope to see you fail. That's why you must never tie your journey to their approval. You must walk with the same determination you had when no one believed in you. Their applause is temporary, your persistence is permanent. The higher you climb, the lonelier it becomes. At the top, the crowd thins out. Few understand the weight you carry, the sacrifices you make, the responsibility you shoulder. That loneliness can feel overwhelming. But remind yourself, you've been here before. You know how to walk alone. You know how to keep going when nobody believes. That same strength that carried you through obscurity will carry you through the high. In fact, the loneliness at the top is not much different from the loneliness at the bottom. The difference is, now you know how to endure it. And here lies the deeper truth. The persistence you've built has transformed you. You are no longer the same person who began this journey. Back then, disbelief shook you. Now disbelief fuels you. Back then, silence discouraged you. Now silence strengthens you. Back then, doubt felt like a wall. Now doubt feels like a door. Every step you've taken, every obstacle you've endured, every moment you chose to keep going, has not just brought you closer to your dream, it has reshaped who you are. You are no longer just chasing success. You are becoming unbreakable. The legacy of persistence is not the trophies, the applause, or even the influence. The true legacy is the person you become in the process. Someone who cannot be stopped by disbelief, who cannot be broken by rejection, who cannot be silenced by failure. Someone whose very existence is proof that persistence beats everything. That transformation is worth more than recognition, worth more than success, worth more than applause, because when you have become unbreakable, nothing in life can defeat you. And yet the story is not finished. There is still one step left. One decision that remains the most important of all. The decision you faced at the beginning is the same decision you will face at the end. Will you keep going, even when nobody believes, even now with recognition, influence and success? The answer must still be yes. Because persistence is not a single act, it is a lifetime commitment. And those who choose it, those who embrace it fully, leave behind a legacy that disbelief can never erase. So as you stand here, looking back on how far you've come, remember that the journey is not just about proving them wrong, it's about proving yourself right. It's about showing the world, and more importantly yourself, that no amount of doubt, no amount of silence, no amount of disbelief can stop a person who refuses to quit. That is your story, that is your power. And as long as you breathe, as long as you rise each day, as long as you take one more step, that story will never end.
This is where it all comes together. Every moment you wanted to quit, every time you questioned yourself, every day you kept going with no proof it would be worth it. This is the point where you finally see what it all meant. Because persistence was never just about reaching a goal, it was about becoming the kind of person who refuses to stop, no matter what. You have walked through doubt, through rejection, through failure, through silence, through disbelief. And you are still here. That is your victory. That is your proof. The world is full of people who started strong and gave up when it got hard. People who had dreams but let disbelief kill them. People who waited for permission, for applause, for perfect conditions, and never moved. But you were different. You chose to keep going, not because it was easy, not because you were sure, but because you decided that quitting was not an option. You kept showing up, you kept pushing, you kept building. And now, everything has changed. Not because the world believed in you, but because you believed in yourself when no one else would. And even now, after everything you've overcome, the world may still doubt you. There will always be someone who doesn't believe, someone who questions your success, someone who says you got lucky. Let them talk, let them doubt, let them underestimate you, because you no longer need their belief. You never did. You've built something stronger than their approval. You've built unshakable persistence. And with that, you can do anything. Think about the long nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices no one saw. Think about the times you were exhausted, discouraged, and tempted to stop, but didn't. Those were the moments that built you, not the victories, not the applause. The struggle built you, the pain shaped you, the silence forged you. And now you stand here, not because you were the most talented, not because you had the most support, but because you refused to give up. That is what makes you unstoppable. You must understand that your story matters. It matters not just because of what you achieved, but because of what you endured. There are people right now who are on the edge of quitting. People who feel invisible, forgotten, and lost. People who are hearing the same doubts you once heard. They need to see someone who kept going. They need to know it's possible. And when they see you, your scars, your story, your strength, they will find the courage to keep going too. You become the proof they were waiting for. This is why persistence is bigger than your dream. It's bigger than your success. It's a message to the world that belief is not a requirement, that support is not a guarantee, that silence does not mean failure. It's a message that even when nobody believes in you, you can still win. And when you do, your victory echoes. It echoes in the hearts of those still fighting, still climbing, still believing in something no one else can see. Your story becomes their strength. You must never forget that the choice is always yours. No one can stop you unless you let them. No one can define you unless you accept their definition. No one can make you quit unless you hand them the pen and let them write your ending. But you haven't done that. You've held the pen the entire time. You've written every chapter, and you've proven that even when nobody believes in you, you can still create something extraordinary. So keep writing, keep building, keep showing up. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Because somewhere out there someone is watching you, even if they don't say it. Someone is drawing strength from your persistence. Someone is deciding to keep going because they saw that you did. And one day, they will tell their story. They will say, I almost quit, but then I saw someone who didn't, and it changed everything. That is the legacy of persistence. It doesn't end with you, it begins with you. Now take a deep breath. Look at how far you've come. Look at what you've endured, and realize this.
The world didn't believe in you, and it didn't matter, because you believed, and that belief carried you through everything. You didn't wait for permission, you didn't wait for applause, you didn't wait for perfect timing. You acted, you persisted, you kept going, and now you are living proof that nothing can stop someone who refuses to quit. And if you ever find yourself facing a new challenge, a new doubt, a new wave of disbelief, remember what you've already survived. Remember that you are not starting from zero, you are starting from strength. You've already done the impossible, you've already proven them wrong. You've already walked through fire and made it out stronger, so whatever comes next, face it with the same persistence that got you here, because now you know the truth. You don't need them to believe, you just need to keep going. This is your story, this is your legacy, and it will echo long after the world forgets the names of those who doubted you, because persistence outlives disbelief, always, and as long as you keep going, you are unstoppable, you are unbreakable, you are proof. Now go, keep going, no matter who believes, no matter who doubts, no matter what stands in your way, because the world doesn't need another person who gave up. It needs you relentless, determined, and unshakably committed to the dream no one else could see. You are not done, you are just getting started. Keep going, always.